CrossFit has shut down its Facebook and Instagram accounts. This is huge. They had millions of followers over censorship and data privacy concerns. Now, I've covered Facebook censorship, privacy issues, and the demise of Facebook fairly extensively. I've covered all the big breaking stories. So here, what I think we're seeing with CrossFit's departure, they're not the only ones who pulled out. Other big brands have as well. We're seeing Facebook's censorious nature is resulting in a downward death spiral. Facebook is losing users, millions, 15 to 17 million young people. They're desperate. They need good PR. Data privacy issues are bad news for them. When the press comes after them over fringe figures, people they feel is dangerous, Facebook needs to stem the bleed. What do? They ban more people. They go overboard. And in trying to save themselves, they've made it worse. This is what I refer to as the Chinese finger trap problem. If you've seen my videos before, you've seen me talk about this. Basically, Facebook is caught in a bind. And I think the solution is to keep pulling to get their fingers out. But the reality is, you need to act in a counterintuitive manner. Banning people made things worse. You've now lost CrossFit. CrossFit's huge. It's like a multi-billion-dollar enterprise or industry. The people who buy and practice this, there's independent groups that do this. Now, before we get into all this news, I do want to say it's not just about CrossFit. We've also got news about Raheem Kassam, a conservative who was banned on UK election day, suspended for an 11-year-old post. The more Facebook does this, the worse things get. And boy, do I have stories for you to back up at least what my opinion is, that Facebook is certainly ending itself because it's going overboard. Now, before we get started, check out timcast.com/donate if you want to support my work. There's a monthly donation option. Cryptocurrency address is a physical address, but of course, just share the video, like, and comment, because that engagement tells Facebook the video is good, and then, tells YouTube the video is good, and then YouTube recommends the video more often. Or if you hate me, don't do any of those things, and you can just listen. So we have this story from Morning Chalk Up. I'm not familiar with the source, but they do kind of break things down very simply. They say, CrossFit shutters Facebook Instagram accounts amid data privacy concerns. But that title is actually somewhat incorrect. The real issue was that CrossFit had one of its associated brands banned. It was called Banting 7-Day Meal Plan User Group. 1.65 million users. They post about essentially low-carb diets, low-carb, high-fat. And they had this account shut down. So here's what CrossFit says. CrossFit is a contrarian physiology and nutrition prescription for improving fitness and health. It is contrarian because prevailing views of fitness, health, and nutrition are wrong and have unleashed a tsunami of chronic disease upon our friends, family, and communities. The voluntary CrossFit community of 15,000 affiliates and millions of individual adherents stand steadfastly and often alone against an unholy alliance of academia, government, and multinational food, beverage, and pharmaceutical companies. They say, recently, Facebook deleted without warning or explanation the Banting 7-Day Meal Plan User Group, 1.6 million users. They talk about low-carb, high-fat diet. They say while the site was subsequently has been reinstated without warning or explanation, Facebook's action should give any serious person reason to pause, especially those of us engaged in activities contrary to prevailing opinion. Here's the thing. There is something called the sugar conspiracy. I actually believe I have it pulled up. The sugar conspiracy, I don't know if it's true. I'm not well versed on this issue, but the general idea is that back in, the 50s, 60s, 70s, the sugar industry was concerned that people would find out sugar is bad for you and fat is good for you. What happened was decades of brands saying low-fat diets, low-fat, this is low-fat cottage cheese, this is low-fat X, Y, and Z, when in reality it was the sugar that was bad. Now, I am one who absolutely avoids high refined sugars because my general understanding is that, if you're going to eat like lean and healthy, if you're going to have like spinach and broccoli and some fish, there's not a ton of sugar in that. So I said, you know what? I'm gonna avoid the sugary refined treats and things like that. Not perfectly. I'm not super. I'm not keto. I'm not any of that stuff. But the reality is, there are things in our society that eventually turn out to be very dangerous. For a long time, we had asbestos in buildings, and now we learn it's very dangerous. Science can change. I'm not saying CrossFit is right or wrong. I'm saying the issue is people should be allowed to express themselves and believe what they want to believe and do their own research. Within reason. I understand there's lines. It's hard to navigate this stuff. I tend to fall on the side of mainstream science, even though I recognize they are wrong often. We see stories like this. But the reality is, I'm not an expert on a lot of issues. Now, when it comes to issues of dieting, I've done a decent amount of research. I'm an athlete. I skateboard almost every day. So I try to be fit and eat healthy. I'm not a big fan of CrossFit. Not saying they're bad. I'm just saying I don't know much about them. But if they want to advocate for people to exercise, sure. If people don't like that, I don't know, man. You got to take it up with people who are trying to get fit. But here's the thing. The concern here is that there has been an attack on unorthodox opinion regardless of what it is. I think Joe Rogan's a good barometer for like normies, regular people. He's a guy who just talks about things that interest him. He talks to anybody. And you look at something like CrossFit, and I think there's another really good barometer for like normies. The people I know who are into CrossFit are not political. They have no idea what's going on. But now you have a massive industry, this CrossFit's huge, saying, you know what, we're out because you banned us for no reason. And they're concerned at the trends Facebook is taking towards banning fake news and heterodox opinion, things that aren't of the mainstream prevailing opinion, which they express. They do go on to talk about, though, they say these publicly sourced complaints include but are not limited to the following. Facebook collects and aggregates user information and shares it with state and federal authorities, as well as security organizations. Facebook collaborates with government and security agencies on massive citizen surveillance programs such as PRISM. They say they censor and remove user accounts based on unknown criteria at the request of third parties, including government and foreign government agencies. They go on to list a series, but finally they say a series of complaints. But lastly, Facebook is acting in the service of food and beverage industry interests by deleting the accounts of communities that have identified the corrupt nutritional science responsible for unchecked global chronic disease. In this, it follows that the practices of Wikipedia and other private platforms that host public content but retain the ability to remove or silence, without the opportunity for real debate or appeal, information and perspectives outside a narrow scope of belief or thought. In this case, the approved perspective has resulted in the deaths of millions through preventable diseases. Facebook is thus complicit in the global chronic disease crisis. This is not political. CrossFit here is expressing the same ideas many of us in the political space has, that Facebook is trying to restrict access to your opinion. Don't believe me? Check this out. Raheem Kassam banned over an 11-year-old post. This is from Human Events. 7-day suspension. How about this? Facebook's hate agents list includes candidates for the European election, and one of the slights, they said, was the neutral representation of a member of the Proud Boys. Facebook quite literally puts you on a list, preparing to ban you for being neutral. That is insanity. It was recently reported that you can be banned if you post things about Alex Jones, Milo Yiannopoulos, apologist of Watson, unless the opinion is negative. You are only allowed to condemn them. This has brought us to Facebook's psychotic and insane dystopian policing of opinion. Candace Owens, for instance, is included on this list. Now, ultimately, this results in more than just CrossFit. Here we see this story. What brands have quit Facebook? All the companies banning Mark Zuckerberg's app after the data scandal. This story's from a year ago, March of 2018. SpaceX and Tesla, Elon Musk said, "What's Facebook?" And apparently they pulled out. Musk said he culled the Facebook page for Tesla, and to really rub it in, he said they'd literally never seen the SpaceX page before the Twitter exchange. Apparently Playboy pulled out. Early on March 28th, the son of late Playboy founder Hugh Hefner said the magazine would be ditching Facebook. Cooper Hefner tweeted that Playboy would no longer have a page on the site and swiftly proceeded to kill the Saucy Mag's Facebook profile. This is huge. Pep Boys, Commerce Bank, Sonos, Mozilla, a ton of major companies have pulled off Facebook because Facebook is acting unethically. But CrossFit is just the latest. Here we have a story from NBC from just March. Advertisers are quitting Facebook, citing the company's despicable business model. Facebook has banned and censored and stolen data into destroying itself. In terms of advertisers and big brands, it's their despicable business model. I'm quoting the story here from CNBC, but it's that they're taking data and selling it, and it's caused huge problems for everybody. But when you see CrossFit, it's because they're banning people's ideas. Here we have a story from Forbes, right? Check this out. Just today, Facebook deleted more than 2 billion fake accounts in the first quarter of the year. 2 billion accounts were fake. It sounds like a lot of Facebook's growth is bad, and it sounds like Facebook is on the way out. Here's a story from in March. Why did Facebook lose an estimated 15 million users in the past 2 years? And it was pronounced among kids and young adults. There's been a shift. Gen Z is the first in a series of generations, going back like 100 years, to move more conservative. They're by no means conservative. Gen Z is not. They're actually very similar to millennials. But what's interesting is when you look at Pew data, we see that from the silent generation, boomer you have the silent greatest, boomer, Gen X, millennial, Gen Z. Gen Z was the first time it shifted back in the other direction. Many people believe this may be because the internet has allowed people to learn for themselves and explore. If that's true, that they're exploring more, it could be that Facebook's censorious nature makes it unappealing to young people. You know, the way Facebook works with spying on you, and admittedly, if you're a young person, you don't want your parents seeing what you're posting, but people are moving to Instagram, which is owned by Facebook, which presents another serious issue. Now, Facebook, as a parent company, is in trouble. Not only have they purged 2 billion fake accounts, they've lost 15 million users in one of the most important demographics. They're losing advertisers. They're losing big brands. They are being fined they're being fined billions of dollars, right? Here's a story from a month ago. Facebook reserves $3 billion for FTC fine, but keeps growing with 2.38 billion users in Q1. Sure, they're growing, but they're not growing in the right places. They're losing young people, and they've just purged a bunch of fake accounts. In this story, we can see that Facebook is well aware that they're in dire straits. Okay, so let me slow down. I'm moving through these stories really quick, but here's what I want to say. Facebook is banning people. They've caught the attention of politicians. They're now being questioned about their bias against conservatives. A report from Gizmodo, a former staffer at Facebook, said they routinely suppressed conservative news. We've seen James O'Keefe and Project Veritas, former Facebook staff, talk about the throttling and the censorious nature of Facebook targeting conservatives. They believe internet culture is conservative. It's very strange. We've then seen the reporting from Breitbart, hate agents, targeting not necessarily even conservatives, because Sargon is like a center-right personality. Center-right at this point, I don't know. You know, he is left on a lot of issues. It's hard to know exactly where he is. But he's an anti-feminist, anti-fascist, anti-communist, liberal-type personality. He's on this list. Candace Owens is on this list. We know it's happening, and politicians are taking notice. Big brands are pulling out. We know about the data scandals, and now what's happening? I wonder why 6 months ago, Facebook poached the Department of Justice Silicon Valley antitrust chief. I wonder why Facebook is building a team of antitrust experts as one of its co-founders calls for it to be broken up. I wonder why. And we see another story from Washington Post about banning nearly 3 billion fake accounts. Facebook knows that it's in trouble. Antitrust is coming for Facebook. Facebook is bleeding their most important user base, young people. Facebook is losing big brands with the removal of CrossFit and the denouncing of censorship and data privacy scandals. I think Facebook's days are numbered. I don't even really use Facebook anymore. I don't. I post to my page when I make, like, this video will probably be on the page, sure. I just don't really care. I don't interact for the most part. I rarely post. And admittedly, you'll notice the little thing appearing above my head. I'm active on Minds. Minds.com/Timcast. And that is a shameless plug because Minds is not part of the big tech oligopoly. It doesn't mean that they won't grow and become, like the same thing as Facebook. I don't think they will. I think Minds is a small team aiming to try and decentralize as much as possible. And they've launched a jury system where when it comes to moderation, you can appeal to a jury of users, not staff. I think it's a move in the right direction. It's not perfect, but what I can say is, what do you think happens when you start banning people for not holding orthodox opinion? It's very simple. Dominoes are falling over. Facebook had a bunch of outraged activists in the media say, ban these people. So Facebook said, okay, we'll ban them. But then all of a sudden, the other people said, Facebook, why won't you ban them? If you're going to ban this group, why won't you ban that group? So Facebook says, okay. CrossFit gets a page taken down. Was it a mistake? Who cares? CrossFit's pissed. Low carb, high fat diet. Facebook takes them down and CrossFit snaps. And then CrossFit goes to highlight a ton of issues pertaining to Facebook's impropriety and unethical behavior. And there you have it. Back at the morning chalk up story, they said CrossFit isn't wrong. Facebook's mishandling of user data has been well documented. There's a lot of reasons people want to pull off. A lot of reasons businesses want to pull off of Facebook. Censorship is just one of them. But the last thing I will stress, I suppose, is to sort of wrap everything up. CrossFit is not political, as I explained earlier. but they're facing the same thing. The policing of opinion goes well beyond politics, and this should scare everybody. Facebook is dangerous, extremely dangerous. It's not just Facebook. Twitter, Google, it's everybody. Fortunately, I can use Google right now to still talk to you, but Facebook has been purging people like crazy. 2020 is coming. The election is coming. And we are seeing Facebook take action against anyone who holds unorthodox or heterodox opinion. And it's partly because they have activists saying ban them. And when they do, other people say ban them. And it's an endless spiral. As predicted and as warned by people like me, when you ban one group, you've got to ban the other. And then when you ban the other, then you got to ban another group. And it never ends. It is a downward spiral of banning everybody until there's nobody left. Or you break that point and everyone says we are done with Facebook and we're leaving. And it seems like that's where we're at. Final thought. CrossFit is typical normie stuff. The people I know who are into CrossFit are not super political. They're just, I don't know, they're my normie friends. They watch sports, they go to the gym, they work out, they know very little about Brett Kavanaugh or the Supreme Court or Trump or what's going on with Pelosi and the wall. They don't. They're not super interested. They're interested in fitness. And I don't expect them to know about politics. You know, if you're into politics, good for you. A lot of people should have a cursory understanding, but most people have something they're passionate about and want to follow. When censorship hits them in the same way it hits the political sphere, you know it's bad. I predict this is precipitating the demise of Facebook. They're at the back end of the bell curve, and that's why they're desperate. That's why Facebook is desperate to fight the antitrust, because without Instagram, Facebook is done. Facebook is done. Facebook buys WhatsApp and Instagram because they know it's the end of the line for them. They're going to go the way of AOL. Sure, AOL still exists. They own some companies. I think they own Huffington Post. And that's what Facebook is going to become, especially with these scandals. So I'll end it there. Let me know what you think in the comments below. How do you feel? This was huge. When I saw CrossFit was pulling out, I was like, whoa, that's big, right? We've seen Playboy and SpaceX and Tesla. It's happening. More and more companies saying, no, let me know what you think. Thanks for hanging out. I'll have more segments coming up shortly. For those that are watching on YouTube, it'll be at youtube.com/Timcast starting at 6 p.m. And again, let me know what you think in the comments below, and I will see you all in the next segment.